Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a look at chapter 28 of the Ecce Romani textbook called Preparing to Go Shopping. Now in this chapter we're going to come back to a grammar idea that you've actually already seen, which is subordinate clauses, but we're going to do a new twist on it. They're called relative clauses, and it involves a new type of pronoun known as a relative pronoun. To start though, let's take a look at the chapter 28 derivatives. So the first word we want to look at is speculum, which means mirror in Latin. And this word you've actually seen before in the verb spectare, which means to watch. So it kind of makes sense if you put it together. A mirror is something that you look at or look into. And so it makes sense that it would be related to the verb to watch. In English, we get the words speculate and speculation from this Latin word. The next word is negligenter, which means careless. And now in English, this is where we get negligent and negligible. And again, this word comes from a verb that means to neglect or disregard, which makes sense given its meaning. The next word we're after is vexatus, which means annoyed in Latin. In English, we get vex and vexation, but again, there's another verb that you've already seen, vexare, which means to annoy, and that's where this adjective comes from. So vexatus is the adjective form, annoyed, and it comes from the verb to annoy, which makes perfect sense. The next word we're looking at is vendo vendere, which means to sell in Latin. And this word we actually get a few in English from. Words like vend or vendor. If you think of someone who owns a shop and is selling you something, we call them a vendor in English. It comes right from this Latin verb. So now we're going to dive into the grammar, which like I said before is relative clauses. And to start, we're going to think about the clauses we've seen before called subordinate clauses, and then we're going to look at relative pronouns. So just a quick recap. Back in chapter 20, you learned about subordinate clauses and how they can be introduced by the word dum, which means while. And you might remember we defined a subordinate clause as a clause, which means it has its own subject and verb, and it provides additional information about the main part of the sentence, right? But one thing we said is that a subordinate clause can't stand alone as an independent sentence, which is why we call it subordinate. It's in some ways less important than the main part of the sentence. So for example, you've seen sentences like this, dum Davus dormit, Marcus et Sextus per villam currunt, which means while Davus is sleeping, Marcus and Sextus run through the house. If you look at the first part, the dum clause, this is your subordinate clause, while Davus is sleeping. It has its own subject, Davus, and it has its own verb, sleeping, but it doesn't make sense on its own. If you were to say to someone, while Davus is sleeping, you'd only be giving them half of a thought. The main part of the sentence is Marcus and Sextus are running through the house. That's the part that could stand alone as its own sentence and still make perfect sense. So again, when we're talking about clauses, you want to think of a sentence or part of a sentence that has its own subject and verb, but it's explaining the main part of the sentence. So this new type of subordinate clause is something we call a relative clause. And again, relative clauses are descriptive, meaning they're giving you more information, and they're referring to a pronoun or a noun in the main clause. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. So take this example. If you had video puerum qui Romanus est, you'd be saying, I see the boy who is Roman. If we highlight the second part of the sentence, who is Roman, this is a clause. It has a subject, it has a verb, but it's describing something in the main sentence. In this case, you're describing the word boy. So you're not just seeing any boy, you're seeing a boy who is Roman. I'm giving more information about the word puerum, and I'm doing it with a separate clause. So relative clauses are always introduced by what we call a relative pronoun, which in English is who, which, or that. The relative pronoun is connecting the noun or pronoun in the main clause to its description in the subordinate clause. So in other words, if we think back to that sentence, I'm describing the word boy and saying he's Roman. The noun or pronoun that's getting described by the relative clause is what we call the antecedent, and it comes from the Latin words to go before, which makes sense. It's usually right in front of the relative clause. So again, if we take this sentence, I see the boy who is Roman, we can break it apart into its pieces. First, I have the relative clause, who is Roman, and it's the part that's highlighted in yellow plus the word qui. Qui is the relative pronoun, who, and it's describing puerum, which is what we call the antecedent. So again, if you look at this sentence right in front of the relative pronoun, that's where you're going to find usually the antecedent This is the word that I'm giving more information about. I'm describing the boy, the puerum, and I'm saying he's Roman. So here are just some tips on relative clauses. When you're dealing with the relative clause, the first thing you'll notice is that the relative clause usually has a comma in front of it. This is something that'll help you spot it pretty quickly. For the antecedent, you always want to stop and say, what noun or what pronoun am I getting more information about? That's going to tell you where the antecedent is, and it'll help you understand the connection to the relative clause. So again, in our example, if you stop and say, who am I learning more about? Who is the Roman? You're going to realize that the antecedent is the word boy, puerum. That's what I'm getting more information about. So just stop. Whenever you see relative clauses, stop and think, who am I learning more about? That'll help you see the antecedent. So to kick this all off, we have to understand what the relative pronouns are. So we just said relative clauses always start with a relative pronoun. Now we're going to learn what those pronouns are. So here's our charts on relative pronouns. You have the singular and the plural forms. They should look pretty familiar to you at this point. You've seen words like qui and quai throughout the book. We haven't necessarily called them relative pronouns yet, but they are pretty familiar. And you'll notice they all have gender, so there's a masculine, feminine, and neuter form, number, singular or plural, and they have the cases, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. And it all depends on what you're saying, what the pronoun is doing in the sentence. That's where you get the case from. But let's just stop and take a look at some of their spelling, their forms, before we dive into how they're used. The first thing you probably notice in the singular column is the neuter form, the nominative and accusative are the exact same thing. Quote, this is something we've seen since a couple chapters ago or way back in the book, that the nominative and accusative form of the neuter is always the same thing. Another thing you'll notice is that the genitive and dative singular is spelled the exact same way regardless of the gender. So the masculine, feminine, and neuter form in the genitive case is always cuius, and in the dative it's cui. If you take a look at the plural form, it's not quite a perfect match to our noun endings, but you'll notice there's some similarities, right? So if you look at the nominative, genitive, and accusative, you'll see in the masculine, e orum os, in the feminine, I arum ast, and in the neuter, you have quai, then the ending orum, and then quai again. These are things we've seen before. So in other words, in the masculine column, e, orum, and os are all endings that you've been used to since you learned about nouns and adjectives. It's not perfect because if you look in the dative and ablative, you're using the word quibus, but at the same time, the dative and ablative plural are spelled the exact same way. So there are some tricks to help you memorize this chart, but at the end of the day, you just have to memorize it. So here are some important notes on relative pronouns. Since the relative pronoun is replacing a noun in the main clause, it's going to have the exact same gender and number as the antecedent. So if we stop and take a look at that example sentence one more time, again, the relative pronoun is qui, and it's referring to puerum, right? So if you look at the gender and number of puerum, it's masculine and singular. If we look at the gender and number of qui, it's the same, masculine and singular. Their gender and number are always going to match. You might have noticed, though, that I didn't mention case at all. And when we deal with nouns and adjectives, we're always thinking in case, number, and gender. So how come I didn't mention case? It's because the case does not necessarily come from the antecedent. So the relative pronoun is part of a different clause, its own little mini sentence. Since it's part of a different clause, it's going to have a different function. It's not going to be doing the same thing necessarily. So the case can be different, and I'll show you what I mean here. Let's go back to our example sentence, video puerum qui Romanus est. Again, puerum is the antecedent. If we look at the case, it's accusative, right? It's a second declension noun. The um ending is accusative singular. But if we look at the relative pronoun qui, this is nominative case. The cases are different, and there's a really good reason why. Look at the word puerum. In its own clause, the main clause, video puerum, it's the direct object. You're saying, I see the boy. But if we look at the relative clause, qui Romanus est, that's the subject of the sentence. In other words, if you think, who is Roman? The word who is acting as your subject. It's referring to the word boy. So what you can do is replace the relative pronoun with the word boy, the antecedent, and you'll see in English we would be saying, the boy is Roman. In that clause, the word boy, or its relative pronoun qui, is acting as the subject, so it's nominative. The cases don't need to match, and that's totally fine because they're in two different pieces of the sentence, two different clauses. So again, the case of the relative pronoun depends on what its function is in the relative clause. It has nothing to do with the case of the antecedent. Sometimes they match up, sometimes they don't. It doesn't make a difference. So when you're trying to find case of a relative pronoun, look at what it's doing in its own clause. That's where you're going to figure out the answer. So let's take a look at a few examples to see what I mean. In this sentence, you have duae ancili, quarum altera speculum tenebat. The relative pronoun in this sentence is quarum, and the antecedent is the word right in front of it, ancili. They're going to have the same gender and number. So in other words, ancili is feminine, so quarum is feminine. And there's two ancili here, so since ancili is plural, quarum is also plural. But what case is quarum? To figure that out, we have to look at what it's doing in its own clause. So we're not entirely sure yet. You can tell by looking at the way they're spelled, though, quarum and ancili are probably going to be two different cases because their endings are different. But let's look at the relative clause here. What you're saying is one of the slave women is holding the mirror. In other words, you're saying two slave women, one of whom was holding the mirror. So if we were to replace the word quarum with the antecedent, the word that it's taking the place of, which is slave women, what I'd be saying is one of the slave women was holding the mirror. It's a partitive genitive. Quarum is feminine genitive plural because in its own clause, it's functioning in the genitive. I'm saying one of whom was holding the mirror. And I'm giving more information about the two slave women, right? I'm saying there's two slave women, and oh, by the way, one of them was holding a mirror. Here's another example. Ad mercatorem quendam cuius taberna non procul abest. I'm trying to give more information about the merchant, right? So I have to a certain merchant, someone's going in this case, to a certain merchant whose shop is not far away. The relative pronoun is cuius, and the antecedent is mercatorem, or in this case it could be quendam mercatorem, a certain merchant. So I'm trying to give more information about this merchant. The gender and number are going to be the exact same. Mercatorem is masculine, so cuius is masculine. Mercatorem is singular, there's only one merchant, so cuius is singular. To figure out the case, though, again, we have to look at the relative clause. What is the word cuius doing? In this case, I'm trying to say the shop of the merchant is not far away. So again, if I were to replace the word cuius with the antecedent, the word that it's taking the place of, I would put the word merchant there. I'm saying the shop belongs to the merchant, or in other words, the shop of the merchant is not far away. The word cuius is genitive. When I translate it, though, I'm saying someone was going to a certain merchant whose shop is not far away. I'm trying to show that this merchant owns the shop. So the relative pronoun that I'm using to give more information would be genitive in this case, and it's based on what it's doing in its own clause. Here's one more example, and I've switched up the way we do this. So for instance, if you're trying to create your own Latin sentence, you might have to think in English and come up with a relative pronoun. So I gave you an example here. The hair of Aurelia, I'm trying to say which two slave women were taken care of, was beautiful. My relative pronoun is the word which, and I'm not sure what it is in Latin yet. But I do know that it's describing the hair, right? I'm trying to say the hair, which two slave women were taken care of, was beautiful. So again, in this case, my antecedent is crines. Crines, hair, I know is masculine and it's plural. So whatever word I'm going to put in as the relative pronoun needs to be masculine and plural. For the case, though, I need to leave the antecedent alone for a minute and figure out what is my relative pronoun doing in its own clause. If I'm saying which two slave women were taken care of, I need to think what's going on here. One way to think about it is to rephrase your sentence. I'm trying to say two slave women were taking care of the hair. That's what the relative pronoun is doing in this sentence. I'm saying the slave women were combing it or taking care of it, in other words. If you look at it in English, if I say two slave women were taking care of the hair, the word hair is the direct object. It's what they're taking care of. This process of thinking backwards helps me realize that the word I need here for the relative pronoun needs to be masculine, plural, and accusative in this sentence. If I put it all together, the relative pronoun I'm after would be quos. So the full sentence would be Aureliae crines, quos duae ancillae corabant, pulchri erant. The hair of Aurelia, which 2 slave women were taking care of, was beautiful. So let's just do a quick recap of what we learned. We've seen that relative pronouns replace nouns in subordinate clauses, and we call these clauses relative clauses because they have a relative pronoun. We also said that relative clauses give more information about that noun or pronoun that's being replaced, in other words, the antecedent. So they're descriptive clauses that give more information. We said that relative pronouns match their antecedent in gender and number. But if you want to find the case, you have to look at what the relative pronoun is doing in its own clause. They have their own case that's independent from the antecedent. So if you follow these steps, you'll always come up with the right answer. You use the chart of relative pronouns to fill in the blank. This is how they work.